I wanted a relaxing weekend trip. Just me in a small cabin in the woods. I needed a break from everything and some time to rest. While searching on Airbnb, I found the perfect place. A cute little cabin owned by an older woman named Helen. Her profile picture showed a kind smile, and the reviews said she was friendly and the cabin was clean and peaceful. So I booked it right away. The drive to the cabin was long but nice. As I got closer, the sun started to set, casting a warm glow over the forest. When I finally arrived, the cabin looked just like the pictures, with a wooden porch and a soft light glowing from the window. The place looked even more beautiful in person. It had an old-fashioned charm, with ivy growing on the stone walls and a small porch swing moving gently in the breeze. I used the key code Helen gave me, and the door made a soft sound as I pushed it open. On the cooking area table, there was a note from Helen. She wished me a good stay and said she was sorry she couldn't meet me in person. The first night was peaceful and just what I needed. I made a cup of tea, sat by the fireplace with a book, and enjoyed the quiet forest around me. The only sounds were the crackling fire and the wind rustling the trees outside. Everything felt nice, and for the first time in a while, I truly relaxed. When I finally got into bed, I fell asleep right away. But on the second night, things felt a bit different. I lay in bed, just about to drift off, when I heard a soft creak. At first, I thought it was just the cabin settling, but then I heard it again, this time much closer. I stayed still, listening carefully. Then another sound, something faint, like footsteps on the wooden floor. A chill ran down my spine. Then another creak. Then a whisper, "Good night." My chest tightened as I looked around, but no one was there. My hand shook as I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight, moving the light around the room. Nothing. I told myself it was just my mind playing tricks on me, but I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching me. My skin prickled, and every shadow felt wrong. I lay back down, but sleep never came. In the following morning, I decided to leave early. As something didn't feel right, I didn't want to stay any longer. I packed my bags and went to the cooking area to leave a note for Helen. And that's when I saw it. The basement door slightly open. I hadn't noticed it before. My chest tightened, but I couldn't stop myself. I reached for the door and slowly pulled it open. The stairs led down into darkness. Then the smell hit me. Damp, musty, and something else. Something sharp, like metal. My breath caught in my throat. Every part of me screamed to turn around, to walk away. But I couldn't move. I just stood there, staring into the dark. I should have walked away, but I didn't. Instead, I turned on my phone's flashlight and stepped down the stairs. The light showed a small, messy space. Old furniture, boxes filled with random things, and a bed. The bed wasn't dusty or forgotten. It was neat, like someone had been using it. Next to it stood a small table with personal things. A hairbrush, a pair of glasses, a book. Felt like someone was living down here. Then, behind me, the basement door slowly creaked shut. I spun around to run up the stairs, but Helen was already at the top. Her kind smile was gone. Instead, her face was cold and serious. "You shouldn't have come down here," she said, her voice calm but unsettling. Since we had a tight budget, we searched for the cheapest place to stay and found a small motel called Westerly Motel. There were 5 of us, 3 guys, including me, and 2 girls. We were all just friends, so sharing one room wasn't a problem. The check-in process was simple, and we got our key without any issues. The room was small but had everything we needed. A living area with a couch, a bathroom, and a bedroom with 1 bed. There was also a small TV and a table with a couple of chairs. It wasn't fancy, but we didn't mind since we just needed a place to sleep. We decided that the 2 girls would sleep in the bedroom, and the 3 of us guys would stay in the living area. We planned to stay for 3 nights. The trip was okay, but there wasn't much to do in Ocean Shores. Our main plan was to visit the beach and see the ocean, but when we got there, the shore was covered with smelly, dirty stuff that had washed up from the water. I didn't wait. I rushed up the stairs, shoving past her as hard as I could. She stumbled, but I didn't look back. I shoved the door open and ran toward my car. Behind me, Helen stood in the doorway, her face unreadable. She didn't chase me. She just watched, her expression too calm, like she knew something I didn't. I yanked the car door open, threw myself inside, and started the engine. I didn't slow down. I didn't look back. I just drove until I reached the nearest town. Without thinking, I parked outside the police station and rushed inside. The police listened when I told them everything. When I showed them the Airbnb listing and my reservation, they took it seriously and promised to investigate. A few days later, I got a call from the detective working on my case. His voice was serious. Helen wasn't just an Airbnb host. She had been hurting guests for years. The police found proof in the basement that connected her to several missing people. She had been living down there, waiting for her next guest. I'm safe now, but I will never forget the way she looked at me as I drove away. Be careful where you stay. You never know who might be watching while you sleep. In 2015, I was a college student near Seattle, Washington. A few friends and I decided to take a spring break trip to Ocean Shores, a small town on the coast of Washington state. A local told us the stuff on the shore might be fish or whale bodies. I wasn't sure if that was true, but it definitely wasn't seaweed, and the smell was awful. It made the whole beach unpleasant, so we didn't stay there for long. The first 2 nights at the motel were normal. We played board games, talked, and had some drinks. We laughed a lot and didn't think anything weird would happen. But on the last night, things changed. My 2 friends slept in the living area, one on the couch and the other on a chair. I had no idea how he could sleep like that, but he didn't seem to mind. I was the only one sleeping on the floor, using a blanket as a mattress. Then, around 4 a.m., I woke up. I reached over to grab my phone, checked the time, and thought, I wish it was morning already. The air was cold and heavy, like something wasn't right. I know people say this a lot, but it truly felt like someone was watching me. In the game, some rooms have a high-pitched sound that signals something is there for you to interact with. Creates a strong feeling that something is here, even if you can't see it. You just know something is watching. That's exactly how I felt that night in the motel room. I couldn't hear my friends breathing or any outside noises. It was just still and unnerving. I know it's a strange comparison, but that game is the best way to describe it. I tried to go back to sleep, but I was too scared. My heart was racing, and my feet were even shaking because of how nervous I felt. The strangest part was that I just knew that the fear was coming from the bathroom. I had no reason to think that, but the feeling was so strong. Since I was sleeping on the floor, I was the closest one to it, which made it even worse. I just knew something was wrong with the bathroom, even though I couldn't see anything. It was like an invisible force was coming from there, filling the room with a heavy, tense feeling. Every part of me wanted to look, but at the same time, I was too scared. I also felt like I shouldn't move, as if something was telling me, stay still, don't get up, just go back to sleep. You're not supposed to be awake right now. Even shifting my body or turning my head seemed like a bad idea, as if moving would make things worse. Thankfully, after about 15 minutes, the fear slowly faded, and I was able to fall asleep again. When I woke up the next morning, everything seemed completely normal. As my friend and I were checking out of the motel, I thought about asking the front desk, hey, is this place haunted? But I decided not to. During the long drive back to Seattle, which took about 3 to 4 hours, I casually asked my friends, were you guys awake this morning? To my surprise, one of them responded with, at 4 o'clock or 5 a.m.? I felt a chill as I answered, yes. Then my friend simply nodded. After that, everything went quiet. Neither of us wanted to say more, and we just let the conversation end there. It was awkward, but for some reason, we both knew not to talk about it any further. I could tell that he felt the same thing I did at 4 a.m., and just like me, he didn't want to talk about it. It almost felt like discussing it would bring bad luck or make things worse. That was the end of that experience, at least for a while. Fast forward to 2020, during the time when everyone was stuck at home. I was bored, and that trip to Ocean Shores suddenly came to mind. Feeling curious, I decided to look up Ocean Shores Westerly Motel on Google. The first thing that popped up was a Como 4 news article from 2014. What I read next left me frozen. The article said that in 2014, At the exact same motel we stayed in, a man locked himself in the bathroom during a standoff with the police. He caused heavy smoke inside and passed away from breathing it in before he could be taken to the hospital. I immediately thought about that night and the strong feeling I had about the bathroom. It freaked me out because I wasn't just scared for no reason. I felt something there. I've always doubted stories like this, but after this, I started to wonder. That night felt so unreal, almost like something supernatural was happening. Before that, I used to laugh when people said they felt watched, but now I understand. That feeling is real and it's terrifying. I even checked reviews of the Westerly Motel, hoping to find someone else who had a similar experience. But there was nothing. The motel is still there, so if anyone else has ever felt something strange in that place, just know you're not alone. Last March, my friends and I took a trip to Chattanooga to celebrate my childhood best friend's upcoming wedding. Since it was a bachelorette trip, I'll refer to my friends as the bride, maid of honor, and niece. We stayed in a beautiful Airbnb right by the Tennessee River. The house had large windows that gave us a great view of the water, and the outdoor deck was perfect for relaxing. The house was located on a trail, so it felt quiet and private, but we weren't too far from the city. We could easily drive into town to explore, eat at nice restaurants, and enjoy the nightlife. We had a great time in the city, then returned to the Airbnb and lit a fire in the fire pit. We sat around, talked, and relaxed until we started feeling tired. Eventually, we all went to bed. We decided to stay in the same room, which was big and had 3 bunk beds and 1 full bed. At first, we thought about watching a movie together, but we were too tired. Since we had to drive back the next day, we all went to sleep instead. Since my friends usually fall asleep early, I was still awake. I got on my phone and started scrolling. I know it's a bad habit, but I had no other choice since I didn't have a book to read. As I lay there, I suddenly got a weird feeling, and it wasn't a good one. Now, I had one paranormal experience before, but that only made me confused, not scared. But this time was different. I felt my hair stand up, like something with bad intentions was nearby. I looked up at the other bunks, and my friends seemed fine, so I went back to scrolling on my phone. But that uneasy feeling returned even stronger this time. I slowly looked toward the full-size bed, where the bride and her little niece were sleeping, and that's when I saw it. A dark figure standing by their bed. Its head was bent, staring down at the niece. My heart froze, and a wave of fear washed over me. I couldn't move. I couldn't even breathe for a moment. My mind raced, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. I kept telling myself it had to be a shadow, maybe from the stairway light shining into the room. I looked down at my phone and forced myself to move my thumbs to text my boyfriend, telling him how scared I was. But that didn't help. He doesn't believe in anything like this, so he just said I was imagining things. After that, I looked up again, and the figure was gone. But that didn't make me feel better. It made me feel worse because it meant what I saw wasn't just a shadow from the stairway light. I jumped down from my bunk, ran up the stairs, and collapsed on the couch. I felt like a little kid who had just watched a scary movie. As I lay there, I kept hearing creaking sounds from the stairs. I tried to calm myself by thinking, it's just the house settling. But the fear wouldn't go away. I called my boyfriend, and he talked to me, trying to reassure me. I wanted to believe he was right, but I still felt uneasy. The creaking finally stopped, and around 4 a.m., I was so exhausted that I drifted off to sleep. I woke up around 6 a.m. and finally built up the courage to go downstairs to grab some clothes from my bag. A few minutes later, the maid of honor came upstairs, looking confused. She asked, "Hey, did the bride come up here at all?" I frowned and replied, "I only slept for 2 hours and I've been up since 6. She hesitated and explained that around that time, she thought she saw the bride get up and walk upstairs. I shook my head and told her the bride didn't come up there. Her face grew even more uneasy as she insisted she saw someone go up the stairs. Then I asked if she had checked the bed. She went back downstairs, looked, and then said in a confused voice that the bride was still in bed. I stood there, just as confused, and asked what time she saw her. She said it was only a couple of minutes ago, around 6:05. I told her maybe she just heard me since I had been upstairs all night. She shook her head and said she thought she saw someone standing between the suitcases in the bed, right over the niece. I didn't have to say a word. My face said it all. She knew I had seen it too. We were both relieved to leave and had no interest in figuring out what really happened. I felt guilty for not staying downstairs to make sure they were okay. After she confirmed what I saw, my boyfriend's doubts made me think I was overreacting, but the look on my friend's face, pure confusion and fear, told me I wasn't imagining it. I don't know if it's connected, but a few months later, I found out that one of the most haunted places in Tennessee, Hales Bar, is only 2 miles down the river from where we stayed. There was also an old cabin from the 1800s on the property, set up as decoration. It had a strange feeling to it, and the old photos inside didn't help. The pictures showed the original owners, but I can't remember their names. I wish I did so I could check if they had any connection to Hales Bar.